Authorities in Littleton, Colorado are securing the scene of a deadly school shooting so they can make a final body count.
And at least 20 are dead at North.
A simply horrific shooting today in Newtown, Connecticut.
There was an active shooter that was firing rounds from the 32nd floor.
When we watch the images from the comfort of our own home,
I'm listening to it right now. That definitely sounds like an automatic fire.
Comprehension seems impossible. The news tries to answer the question, how did this happen? USA Today says between 2006 and 2017, there were more than 350 mass killings in the U.S. And on average, they happen about every 2 weeks.
There were some people who would never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, shoot anybody. And there are other people who are just ready to snap and shoot everybody.
Stanford professor and sociologist Mark Granovetter's threshold theory was used by New Yorker writer Malcolm Gladwell to suggest mass killings are contagious and can spread as easily as the flu. Using his theory, we have to compare mass shootings to a riot, and your threshold can predict how likely you are to jump in.
Threshold models take that idea of copycatting and give it a lot more structure and formalize it with some mathematics and give it a little bit more elaborate argument about how this happens.
For example, he said riots are started by people with a threshold of 0 because the instigators don't need anyone else to do it for them to start. A person with a threshold of 1, though, is willing to do it if someone else is. A threshold of 2 needs to at least see an instigator and accomplice doing it. And our third threshold would never do it unless a group of people were. The higher the threshold, the more people it would take for you to join in.
They see other people engaging in these school shootings, and most of us are horrified by it. But for some small segment of the population that have all these resentments and other issues building up, they actually see it as a model.
Gladwell calls mass school shootings a slow-motion, ever-evolving riot, where the next person's action makes sense as a reaction to and in combination with those who came before.
If we had a good idea what made people's thresholds so low for carrying out these kinds of behaviors, then we could address those factors, and I think that would make the most sense.
The New Yorker had some eerie examples to back the theory, starting with the 17-year-old Minnesota boy who planned to bomb his school and kill his family. He told police he was inspired by the pressure cooker bombs the Tsarnaev brothers used in the Boston Marathon bombing. But he took it a step further, creating different types of bombs to throw around his school because he, quote, wanted as many victims as possible. Ultimately, what the New Yorker calls this modern phenomenon can largely be tracked to 2 people. It cites sociologist Ralph Lerkin, who argues the Columbine shooters laid the cultural script for this generation of shooters. Larkin says of the 12 major school shootings in the U.S. in the 8 years following Columbine, he found the suspects in 8 of them referenced Harris and Klebold. They used their low thresholds to influence possibly the most heinous trend the world has ever seen.
What people should try to do is figure out what made these people's thresholds so low, figure out what those factors are.
Granovetter says, unfortunately, his theory can't predict how long it could take for a generation to forget the actions they've seen that can send shockwaves through future generations. But he hopes the next person to take on his theory can figure out a way to stop it.